While I hope to inspire and invite my audience to consider experiencing the world differently, I acknowledge and honor that we come from different backgrounds, some with more privilege, and some do not have access to even the basic needs and rights. I speak as someone holding a vision of a more conscious world where we value all life for you, for us, for our children, and generations to come.
Hello, beautiful shining souls. My name is Jostine, intuitive life guide from the Philippines. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's life tip, compare but don't compare. I know it's a little confusing, but hear me out. Okay, so here's the thing. It is very natural to compare ourselves with other people. It's a fact of life. And even if we try not to compare, and I will say that the more that we try not to compare ourselves, like I will, for me personally, like if I tell myself, like, okay, I will not compare myself to others, I will not compare, it's like you're bringing in that thought, that energy all the more into you. You know what I mean? It's like, don't think about the pink elephant, but you're thinking about the pink elephant, right? And if we deny this part of ourselves, the part where we tend to compare ourselves with others, then we will be causing friction within us, right? The more that there will be this fragmented parts of ourselves, right? It can be a form, right, of toxicity in a way. So, simplest thing, right, that we can do is to accept that there will be times when we will compare ourselves with others. And there is nothing wrong with that, right? There is nothing wrong with that. The problem arises when we let our comparisons steal our joy, right? If we get too attached to what we feel, what we think, what we perceive to be lacking in comparison with other people, that is when we will encounter problems, right? That is when it becomes unhealthy for us to compare ourselves with others. When you find yourself in that comparison space, right? Find yourself comparing yourself to other people. Think of three A's. Three. Okay. So first is, again, we accept. We accept that there is this comparison that is happening. Because the more that we resist, the more it will persist. The more that we deny, the more that it will be running in the background. So face it head on, acknowledge it, right? Acknowledge that, okay, I'm comparing myself right now with this person. Okay, and then next is we allow, right? We allow ourselves to express what is the comparison about, right? And please don't judge yourself, right? Like, don't judge yourself for thinking these things. Just allow whatever arises, all right? Notice it and see it from an observer's viewpoint, all right? Wear your observer's hat. The secret here is that we detach from any stories that we may have. Just see it, hear it, right? Listen without judgment, listen without attachment to any story or any interpretation. Like, just hear them out, hear yourself out. Okay, what is the comparison about? Because that is when we will be able to assess. Number three, assess Is this valid? Right? Is the comparison valid? When we are comparing ourselves to other people, then it means that we are seeing a gap. It could be an opportunity. More often, it is an opportunity for us to grow, to develop ourselves, right? Because we're seeing the gap and we're recognizing that, something within us is recognizing that there's this is a quality that I want to have, that I want to imbibe in myself, right? So don't shy away from that. That is the gift of comparing ourselves to others. But again, we do not attach, right? And we do not put any like interpretation about it, there's any story about us. We just see it as it is, right? Let me give you an example. So, one of the things that I really want to improve on is I want to be able to speak my mind, to share my thoughts clearly and concisely. However, if you have been watching my videos, I tend to ramble, and my thought pattern is like it's very clear in my head, but when I try to explain it to others, like I cannot find the words, and I go from, north, south, east, west, all around the world before I get to the point. That could be my INFP cognitive process, the way that I process stuff. Now, if I get to watch, the speakers I really admire, they're able to deliver their message very clearly in such a short amount of time, right? Of course, I'm comparing myself with them. Like the thought of, oh, I wish I could be like them. Why can't I be like them? What do I need to do? How can I improve? Right? That is part of the comparison, right? Now, if I'm going to focus on what I'm lacking, right? And I let that discourage me, dishearten me, that will affect how I show up in my videos. I will feel like at the back of my mind, like there will be this is like insecurities about, oh my gosh, here I am rambling again. What will people think? Etc. 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 Right? However, how I'm coping with it is that, I'm noticing, okay, well, first and foremost, what are my strengths, right? And I'm recognizing that my gift as a speaker is that when I tune in within, like intuitive speaking, that is my strength. And so I'm leveraging on that. And at the same time, I'm also, being mindful of the time that I'm recording. And I may not be able to compress my messages, under 10 minutes. And that's okay. But I'm mindful, like, okay, how can I make this shorter next time? There's always that mindset of, I love how I delivered this. How can I make this tighter? What can I remove? The beauty of recording myself is that now I'm able to, do basic editing. And so when I listen to myself again, I get to hear, okay, well, maybe this part, it's okay not to mention that. Okay, I can delete that part until I get, like the raw videos, like sometimes it gets until like 30 minutes, and then after editing it will be around 20 minutes. So lots of deleting unnecessary parts, right? And that's also part of how I'm learning to improving how I deliver my messages. The more that I get to do this, the more I'm also getting a feel of how can I share, right? Like the neurons, right? The connectivity, because I'm building new connections in my brain. And so I would guess that as the more that I do this, the more that, it will be easier for me to download, to connect, to speak about things, and eventually it will be clearly and more concisely. But for now, it's a journey. It's progress, right? Like bit by bit. So yes, the comparison is very valid and healthy for me because it gives me something to, you know, how I want to improve as a speaker. Upon assessing, like, okay, well, what can I do now? Right? What can I do now? And not being attached to, oh, but I'm not that kind of speaker. I will just shut up and not do these videos anymore because other people might not receive value. So I hope that was clear. I'm thinking like, is that clear? So there you go. Compare yourself. But there's a second part, right? But don't compare. So what does it mean? So I already implicitly shared this in the first part, but to make it more concrete for you. So don't compare means we focus on our own lane, right? Again, look at your strengths, look at what you can offer, look at your gifts. Focus on those, right? And if there are areas for improvement, go do it, right? But always go back to your strengths, right? And leverage on those and allow your areas for improvement to support your strength as well. Or is it vice versa? Could be vice versa. But the important thing is we focus on our own lane, right? We each have our own unique gifts, our own unique strengths, our own unique way of doing things. And if we are doing things exactly as other people, then that will just be like the world will be boring. So go do your unique way of self-expression or whatever it is that you're doing. Allow that inner light, that inner magic that you have within you to radiate, to shine through, right? Because that is your unique blend of magic. And remember that when we compare ourselves with others, we really only see the tip of the iceberg, right? We don't know what is happening beneath the surface. We don't know their struggles. We don't know what privileges the other people may have, and we don't know what they may not have, right? Like, what is the cost, right? Because, again, like, we each have our own flaws, our also our weaknesses, right? And we only see the good beats, right? And that's what we tend to compare ourselves. So just be mindful that let's how do I share that? Try not to put other people in a pedestal. Right? I think that's one of the problems, or that could like that could be harmful if we put someone up on a pedestal. Like, we are all humans here, we're all divine as well. Right? And so we recognize that we, again, like, we each have our own unique gifts and talents. And if you think that other people are greater than you, then you're already putting separation between yourself and others, and you're already putting yourself in this, you know, hierarchy among others. What if what if we recognize that yes, other people may have more, whatever that more is, but it doesn't take away anything from you, right? It doesn't take anything away from you. You are worthy as you are. You are enough as you are, right? So recognize that in you. Okay? And when we really accept the totality of who we are, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, the light, the shadows, and everything in between, that is when we will not really remove the comparison, but really be at peace in knowing that I am safe, I am secured with who I am, right? I don't need to compare myself with others just to feel that I'm worthy and that I'm enough. I love me as I am. You may want to watch my previous videos about choose love, self-love. If you haven't yet, like, I have lots of videos. Try to watch it. Some golden nuggets in there about loving and accepting ourselves. But yeah. And lastly, be discerning of how you are comparing yourselves with others. Sometimes we tend to compare ourselves with what other people have, only to find out, if we really dig deep within ourselves, that it's not really the kind of life I want for myself. I mean, it just looks glamorous looking at, how other people are receiving all this accolades, this fame, this richness, this wealth, right? This popularity, etc., whatever. Like for myself, I see some of my peers, coaches, trainers, speakers, etc., and they have a large following, right? They are able to serve in large groups. They speaking on stage. They are working with big brands, and yet here I am. I feel like I've been here for like how many years, and I still feel like a beginner, and yeah, I don't feel really established in my career. But then upon reflection, of course, I'm acknowledging that there are things that I really don't feel aligned doing that I know other people are doing, right? Like for example, I'm being like the hustle, right? The hustle culture and all that. That's a different story. But my point here is that upon reflection, like, what motivates me, you really cannot connect with what other people are wanting for themselves. Because again, we each also have our own motivations and values, right? And also, looking on my journey, I may not have the external expressions of wealth, career, fame, recognition, etc. But again, my journey so far this past few years has been really internal. It's like now that I'm sharing this, I'm realizing that, I've always dreamed to be like a hermit. Like, really, that is one of my dreams. Like, to live in the mountain and be by myself and just contemplate about the beauty of life. And I'm realizing now that I may not be in the mountains, but that has been my life journey so far. Most of it. Like, I've really been connecting with my internal world, with my inner reality, and really just contemplating about the beauty of life and getting to know myself and really establishing, cultivating, nourishing my connection with the divine, with life. And now I'm able to have this strong, stable, sustainable internal foundation. I mean, isn't it amazing? Now, when I'm with other people, especially with family, you know how it is with family. Like, they will ask about your job, they will ask about your salary, they'll ask about your love life. And when there was a time when people ask me that, I get triggered because I don't have anything to share. I feel so like, oh, what is wrong with me? Why don't I have all these things that my cousins have, that my peers have? And that is a problem, or that is the harm when we compare, right? But now I can say that yes, there are times when I still get triggered, but for most of the time, like, I can steal myself, right? And be at peace with where I am. Because I'm very clear now with, what I really want in life and who I really am. And it cannot be, shaken by external validation. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, when people ask me, like, I'll just smile. I'll just, I don't know. right? But again, it's not perfect. There are still times. I am still a work in progress. This is still a learning, and it's just another layer, another deepening. So life, it's beautiful, it's exciting, right? So that is life deep for today. Compare, but don't compare. I hope that this has been helpful. If you're feeling inspired, please let me know what came up for you. You may share it in the comment section, or you may send me a message. My email is in the description box. There's also a link to a Google form if you want to remain anonymous. And if you feel that this is, you know, worth sharing, please feel free to share with someone you think who may benefit from hearing the message in this video. So until the next episode, thank you so much for being with me today. Peace, love, and light.
The world is waiting for your magic.